Joining me this evening, Dr Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, live from Delhi. Tom Vadakkan, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party, live from Delhi. Adarsh Shastri, leader of the AAP Party. I'll have to say today, pro-Arvind Kejriwal, and Bhai Baldeep, member of the AAP Party, pro the rebel duo of Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav, and Hartosh Singh Bal, political editor of the Caravan, joining us from Delhi. Good evening to all of you. First question going across to Adarsh Shastri. ये महत्वाकांक्षा नहीं है तो क्या है? ये edit करके आपने वीडियो क्यों दिखाया? Why have you shown the video, an edited video? If there was indeed no scuffle, why hide the footage?
No, there is no question of editing the video. It is just a snapshot of some of the discussions which took place and what Arvind spoke. So the question of editing or doctoring the video is not there. It's just as part of the media release of the Aam Aadmi Party, what Arvind spoke and the message that he sent across to the members of the National Council is what is just shown to the media.
But so you didn't feel any need to try and back your words with proof when the allegation was that members who were supporting Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan were manhandled. There was a scuffle.
You know, the question of backing is not required. You know, there were over 300 members of the National Council over there, and I really doubt if there's any member of the council. You know, there was a clear voting, and in that voting, none of the members of the council did come forward and say any scuffle took place. You know, it is just those who have been against Arvind who have sort of tried to make this noise. But I don't think there was any scuffle at all, and I personally was there, and there was absolutely no scuffle.
So I'm just curious, Mr. Shastri, that is nobody allowed to be against Arvind Kejriwal within the Aam Aadmi Party? So what democracy and what Swaraj is the party talking about?
Well,
that's just a query.
I think.
Yes, Mr. Shastri.
Well, let me say this, that this question of Swaraj exists completely, and there is inter-party democracy. The only point that we've been trying to make again and again is that there is a platform in the party to voice your dissent. You can't wash dirty linen in public, you can't wash your dissent on media, you can't do it in the form of blogs, you can't do it in the form of tweets. You know, there is a formal forum for doing that, and that is what should have happened all along.
Bhai Baldeep, your point of view, you heard what Adarsh Shastri has to say. Do you agree with what he's saying?
Well, firstly, I'm not an Aam Aadmi Party rebel. I am an Aam Aadmi Party fellow, and I am with the party, and I am not with any side. I am for the principles for which the party was founded. And one of the things that we see from the way the meet was conducted, or rather orchestrated, was very unfortunate, unlike any other party meeting that we have ever conducted. The video again is obviously edited, unlike my fellow colleague Mr. Shastri. His quoting that, his stating that it is not edited. It is an edited one. For me, it is very devastating what happened yesterday. The idea called Arvind Kejriwal somehow got murdered. Whereas Arvind Kejriwal, the politician, now thrives, is how we, some of the concerned fellows within the party, are seeing, with a lot of concern.
You're hearing that, Mr. Shastri, and I'm going to go across to our Congress and BJP spokespersons in just a bit. Just one more question to both Bhai Baldeep and Adarsh Shastri. Do the volunteers matter anymore? Do the cadre, the volunteer force, that's the backbone of the Aam Aadmi Party, to all those who actually believed in the ideals which this party was formed on and then gave their sweat and blood tirelessly, selflessly, do they matter? And were they consulted? Was their opinion taken by Arvind Kejriwal and his team, and also Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav, before all this muck was washed in public? Adarsh Shastri, you first.
Well, first of all, volunteers are the backbone of the party, as you rightly said. This election is credited completely to the volunteers of the Aam Aadmi Party. So I think their opinion matters at every stage. And it is just that possibly that the volunteers, that we see, are not recognized by so many, and, have been termed as bouncers and so on and so forth. But volunteers of the party have been consulted at every forum. In fact, today's decision in the National Executive, there has been a task force formed to evaluate evaluate and assess volunteer feedback and to make sure that their views are kept on the right forum at the right platform. So volunteers are the mainstay and backbone of the party, and they are unique to our party in the sense that they work in the interest of changing society and building a new governance model for the country.
Right, but again, you've not answered the question.
If I may come in,
yes,
pardon me for that, but am I as a person who fought from the most volatile constituency of India, the Taran Taran or Khadur Sahab, am I a party volunteer? And when have I been consulted? So I don't understand what is the idea of consulting the volunteers along. And secondly, there are certain portions in the address which are somehow emotional, which are to arouse the emotions of the fellows, and to again take the paradigm or enter the paradigm of or the idea of volunteers. For us all, Aam Aadmi Party was the charisma of a collective. It was a it cannot be appropriated by a few. That aura is not out there for misappropriation or appropriation.
Exactly.
It is by the people, by a collective. And where amongst equals, it is not going to be a party of devotees. It is not a consortium or a caravan of followers. It is of fellows, people who have spent decades for this country. They've sweated, they've shed their blood, they have harvested ideas, capacities, dreams. They've gained the ability, the right to dream, and they have the capacity to realize those dreams into reality, transform them into reality.
Very rightly said, and that's why my question continues to remain the same. That have you compromised the basic tenets of the party? Both parties, we are not taking sides here. I'm just saying between Arvind Kejriwal, Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav, perhaps the volunteers and the backbone of this party, those who believe in the true ideals of this party, wanted the three of them to lock themselves into a room and thrash it out and come back united. That's what perhaps was the sentiment, and that's been lost. And nobody's wanted to hear that. Nobody's wanted to consider that. And Sambit Patra, Tom Vadakkan, that's what, how does this now become different, anyway different from the BJP or the Congress or any other political party, be it regional or national? Because this was a party that claimed that it worked bottom up. It learned, it heard from the grassroots, took a consolidated opinion and then moved forward. But that's not something that's happening now, Sambit Patra.
First and foremost, as far as what is happening between the Aam Aadmi Party and the rebel faction is none of the business of the Bharatiya Janata Party, because we are innocent, distant onlookers. When such kind of missile fight goes on, when such kind of brick battering goes on, it is best to be distant. It is not advisable to be quite near to them, lest a brick or two falls on my head also. So I have been observing them from a distance, but even from a distance, certain things are quite evident. Number one, it is evident that it is a war of ambition. It is not a war for doing something for the people. So I can conclude in a single line that in Aam Aadmi Party there is a hurry to become, not a hurry to perform. And that's what they have been saying since time immemorial, according to them, that they want to perform. They did not come to this political scenario because they wanted bungalow, because they wanted a beacon car, because they wanted anything for themselves. They all said that they were hermits and sages who had descended from Himalaya only to perform for the people, only to give their last drop of blood to the people.
Let me tell you,
Anand,
Sambit
is this
Patra,
the way hermits and sages perform?
No, let me tell you, Sambit Patra, there is a huge volume of this base, this fellows of the Aam Aadmi Party who still believe in this, who still believe they wanted to do something for the country. But now it's now becoming that they are near puppets. They have now been turned to followers and not fellows, like Bhai Baldeep right now said. Tom Vadakkan, what's your point of view before I go to Hartosh Bal, who's been keeping an eye on the Aam Aadmi Party right since its inception? But Tom Vadakkan, go ahead, please.
Anand, what has happened today is more amazing. The Lokpal, their internal Lokpal has been sacked. Okay, the answer is that he has not been sacked. He could be given an extension, but they didn't. Yesterday he was told not to attend the meeting. So these people who are on the streets demonstrating about Lokpal bill and what have you have first demonstrated that they have no faith in the Lokpal. They have done that. Point two, disciplinary committee. The people there have been sacked, and those complaints that have been put against those people have been inducted. How do you explain this? What democracy are we talking about? He's a self-styled anarchist who has got into action. This he is self-destructive. He has done it. His drama about resignation. He is in this edited version also. They talk about his resignation. He has shown this drama time and ahead. He has fooled the people of Delhi. Now, please, let's open our eyes and understand what is this Arvind party all about. It's not Aam Aadmi, it's Arvind party.
Well, Arvind alone party is what we're saying here on Times Now. But Adarsh Shastri, a rebuttal, please, before I go to Hartosh Bal.
Well, I can only say to this that, you know, the party has been given a historic mandate in Delhi to perform and deliver on governance. That is what we have focused on. That is what we are focusing on. Inner party issues which have come across in the media primarily because of the immaturity of some leaders is something that has now taken in a backseat, and we have resolved that once and for all. And I think democracy in the party is absolute and complete for the simple reason that you raise the issues that you have of dissent within the right forum. There is a platform to do that.
Your own fellow Adarsh Shastri
did not use that platform time and again.
Your own fellow Adarsh Shastri is shaking his head vehemently.
They were tweeting, which is not acceptable.
You know, your own fellow is shaking his head vehemently. Your own fellow, the Bhai Baldeep, is actually shaking his head vehemently when you said democracy in the party is intact. Hartosh Bal, is democracy in the party intact? If Arvind Kejriwal says that Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan are guilty of Mahत्वाकांक्षा, isn't he guilty too? If the National Council was supposed to be allow everybody to raise their voice, do you believe that Prashant Bhushan, Yogendra Yadav were given a fair chance?
It's not for that.
Were the volunteers given a fair chance to have their say? Was that, listen, is a democratic system being actually followed within the Aam Aadmi Party?
Mandate is to govern Delhi. The mandate was never to
look at the transition.
Some of the finest fellows from the party out.
Let him finish speaking and I'll begin my point.
Yes, Hartosh. Coming to Adarsh Shastri.
Look at the transition the party has gone through over 1 year. When Arvind Kejriwal wanted to become chief minister in his first term, and then he wanted to give up the post, there was this pretense of consultations, Nukkad Sabhas, consultations with volunteers for a decision as important as that. And now, when you have to sack two of your most important founding members, all you do, according to the tape they've released, is have Arvind Kejriwal make one speech. He does not stay long enough to listen to a rebuttal, a counter argument, and that diktat is obeyed by the rest of the party. It's fait accompli, a decision is taken. Clearly, even the messaging, the symbolism has all disappeared. It's a one-man party with a set of chamchas who are implementing what he says.
Adarsh Shastri.
Well, I would like to disagree to that. Arvind came on board on stage yesterday and clearly asked all of us that he is willing to resign from all his posts. And that is what he said. And he said, I am leaving it to the National Council to take that decision. Where is the question of diktat? If there are over
so if that's not a diktat, what else it is, Adarsh Shastri, my way or highway? It's either me or them. If Arvind Kejriwal stands there and says it's either me or them, how is it not a diktat?
Arvind to go like that.
No, how is it not a diktat if he says it's either me or them?
I don't think.
Did he ask the entire volunteer cadre, the entire representatives? Did he have a vote on effect? Was there a referendum which said, what do you want? Do you want me? Do you want them? Or do you want us? Do you want us? Was that asked?
Very intimately sings on an intimate note. Insan ka insan se ho bhaichara. Where is it all gone? We're not talking about others.
No, insan se insan ho bhaichara. Insan se insan ho bhaichara doesn't mean that people, leaders who have been in the party from its founding time, go and stand up on forums and say and ask volunteers not to come to Delhi to campaign. They don't go and tell NRIs not to go donate for the party.
No, when did they do this?
Tell people that 10 days before the voting, Kiran Bedi is the best choice.
When did they do this? When did they do this, sir?
Unsubstantiated a claim.
They did it between June 2014.
Prashant Ji's father, 10 days before polling, went on record to say that Kiran Bedi is the best choice as chief minister.
So that is your version, Adarsh. What I'm asking you is,
the story
he was actually
why wasn't their version put to
the rounds of the media all along?
Poor and
side of the story, our side of the story
actually
hasn't
telling
been
BJP
spoken
has
about.
nothing to offer. That they brought in Kiran Bedi.
no, you see what is happening.
All this coming over here.
You see, you see what is happening.
You
between
have bouncers appointed fighting in your premises, and where do you bring in BJP and Kiran Bedi?
No.
Unfortunately, sir, if you don't recognize party volunteers, I can't do anything about it. These group of volunteers have been in the party all along. They are there in every meeting. They are there to manage the crowds. They are there to manage the queues and
Anand,
the tables
can
and
I
the
come
seats.
in now?
Yes,
I don't think there are absolutely
I have
any
a
bouncers
question
in the Aam
from
Aadmi
my
Party at all.
friend from Aam Aadmi Party.
Yes, Sambit Patra.
Mr. Shastri, I want to ask a direct question. What kind of, what kind of respectable person or personality is Mr. Arvind Kejriwal? At one hand, he sings the song "Insaan se ho, insaan ka bhaichara," and the moment he goes behind the stage, he gives a call and says, "Piche pe laat padegi." What kind of relation do you allow within your party? What kind of realignment of relation is this, where you show on the stage that you respect each other, and then you turn your back and you want to kick each other? Is this the kind of relation that exists in your party? And then you are asking about other parties.
Anand, I want to intervene at this point.
Coming to you, Tom, just a second. Let Adar Shastri rebut and then come to you.
And frustration.
Yes, Adar.
It is just the sheer desperation, frustration, tiredness that Arvind has been facing from these people, and it is a private conversation that anybody could have had, including you and me. It is just his frustration, tiredness, and the
Mr.
fact that these
Shastri,
people
that is the
are running a
beauty.
negative campaign
You should be
against the party.
beautiful in your private conversation. You should be coherent in a private conversation. You act up in a public conversation, but when you do not follow your rules in a private conversation, that shows that there is a dichotomy in personality. A real personality is one who is equally good in private conversation as he is in public preaching.
So he is absolutely, kept saying the same thing. All he said is he's tired. He is extremely tired of the way these people are trying to sabotage the elections. They are trying to sabotage the party. They are trying to sabotage the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party can form a government in Delhi.
Point is,
and that is that frustration and tiredness.
Let me ask others.
We are people.
This ouster.
I worked on ground as well. I worked during the elections. I went around. The chapters outside the country were totally involved in raising funding for the party. I worked in Badarpur and Jangpura areas. There was never any diktat from anyone that I knew of that they were to be told not to come and work for the party.
Let me tell you categorically, I have been handling the matter.
Why were they not allowed to even rebut these or to give their side of the story? We are all appalled at that. Please go ahead.
So, they have had ample time on the media, in blogs and tweets to say what they wanted to say, and I have been handling some of the party's affairs outside of India, and I can say for a fact that there have been consistent efforts by them to ensure and discourage our NRI support base to not donate for the campaign for Delhi.
My point, Adarsh, is nobody is questioning what you're saying. The point is the people who are supposed to make the decision are not 5, 10, 15 people within the NC who will dictate based on what Arvind Kejriwal feels. That's not the structure or the genesis or the gene composition of the Aam Aadmi Party. The people who matter are the cadre who came out there and who gave their sweat and toil not once, but twice, but thrice. Through the Lok Sabha, the first Delhi elections and the second Lok Sabha elections. And you have not bothered to ask them a single question. Arvind Kejriwal today decides what he wants to do. Yogendra Yadav, Prashant Bhushan decide what they want to do, and the rest are supposed to accept it. Is that what this Aam Aadmi Party is reduced to, is the question, sir?
If you were to look at Admiral Ramdas' letter today...
No, fine. Let me answer that.
It is very revealing.
Let me answer that. In a party which has become so large and widespread, it is next to impossible
to wait on. Let others make a point, then I'll come to you, sir.
I think the best representation. Let me complete.
Yes, Adarsh. Go ahead.
The best representation of volunteer feedback and perspective comes from the fact that over 300 National Council members were present, 67 MLAs were present, and clearly from across the board and speaking in the voices of all the volunteers, the National Council members and the MLAs MLAs of the party clearly
Was it
said the
Adarsh?
same thing.
Adarsh, please,
that the
you're on
volunteers
national
across Delhi, the
television,
volunteers across
and a lot of
India
Aam
have
Aadmi
the same
Party
view.
followers, believers, and voters are watching this. Please be honest and say that what was conducted in that meet yesterday was a totally democratic process, and there was nothing that was orchestrated. Is that possible for you to believe? Are you going to be honestly able to say that nothing there was orchestrated? Nothing there was pre-planned. Nobody's voice was blocked. Is that true, sir?
I don't know about your understanding. I don't know about your understanding of something being pre-planned in politics. I don't think you can orchestrate something with 280 people in the party. I don't think that's possible. You can orchestrate something with 5 people. You can't do that with 280 people.
Yes, Tom Vadakkan.
It is democracy in its fullest sense.
In democracy, the temple of democracy practices secret ballot.
For governments to do
and
that.
he talks about 300 people. Are they under gunpoint?
Have they been?
Tom Vadakkan of the Congress making a point. Please hear him out.
If you allow me to read an excerpt.
They are under gunpoint by bouncers there. They have been told to vote on a dotted line. This is not about 300 people. This is about a
Right, gentlemen, both of you are speaking simultaneously. Tom,
who is dictating
Tom, please let Bhai Baldeep make his point. Others, please wait on.
There are no bouncers in the Aam Aadmi Party.
Others, Bhai Baldeep wants to read out what Admiral Ramdas had written in his letter. And yes, Bhai Baldeep.
You see, when he starts, it is with great surprise and sadness that I heard today from a reporter. I mean, where have we fallen down to? And then he says that the party did not even accord him the courtesy of informing him first. And then he's wondering whether his service was somehow dissatisfactory, or his neutrality or objectivity is in question. And then as recently as 2015 January, he was requested to look into the candidature of 12 people, and 2 of them were actually asked, the names were withdrawn. And then he states that he was even asked to consider continuing for 5 years. And then he says that he believed in the ideals of transparency, accountability, and fairness that was encapsulated in the constitution of the Lokpal, and the fact that his effort to encourage the various leaders of the party to work together to remember the principles on which it was founded, and to make sure that the promises made to the electorate, to the people, were fulfilled.
Yes.
And unfortunately, he says, he did not succeed in that effort. I mean, how painful it is. This is not about Yogendra's or Prashant Bhushan's or Professor Anand Kumar's or countless others. This is the question whether it is going to be a party of devotees now, or of people who will bring ideas.
Yes, a party of followers or fellows. As Bhai Baldeep asked,
an alternate opinion.
And I think a lot of volunteers and a lot of people who repose their faith. Hartosh, while coming to you, Bhai Baldeep, not too much of time, so I have.
Are going out.
I'm just going to get straight to the point.
Are you worried? I am worried about my party.
Very rightly said, sir. And so are so many others who want to understand: is this a party of followers or fellows? That's the simple question, sir. And if you believe that it was undemocratic and against the party's rules for somebody to go out and wash their linen, dirty linen in public and put out tweets in public, was this constitutional, the removal of Admiral Ramdas? How was that constitutional? Doesn't the Aam Aadmi Party constitution itself state that only a Lokpal can decide who will be the next Lokpal or who will be his replacement? So when it's convenient to you, you can deviate from the rules. When it's inconvenient to Arvind Kejriwal or somebody else in the party, they don't want to deviate from the rules. Now, how does that work? How is that democratic? How is that transparent?
I can only say to that.
How would that person be bipartisan?
It clearly says that the term of the Lokpal is for 2 years.
No, no.
And as his term had expired, there was a view whether his term should be renewed or there should be somebody
else.
Correct.
So his view doesn't matter.
It was a decision of the national executive.
No, his view doesn't matter. So you're going against. Isn't it, Bhai Baldeep? Isn't that part of your constitution, which says that yes, the Lokpal will decide who will be his replacement?
Well, until a new Lokpal was appointed. The last one was carried on. That's why I read the excerpt where he says in January 2015, he is considered capable of handling the matters. And when there was a request made out for him to somehow be a witness, if there was courage in the people who were orchestrating the meeting the other day, that they're going to be bipartisan, they're going to be compassionate, they're going to be fair.
Well,
why were neutral observers
Anand,
kept out?
Yes, Sambit Patra, and then Hartosh Bal, closing comments after wind up.
Quick point.
Yes.
Yeah, quick point. Anand, the country has been observing this gang war since 4 days. You know, the kind of war that is going on, though we have nothing to advise, nothing to offer.
Please don't call it a gang war, I'm sorry.
But all
the discourse in the party is a lesson to everyone else.
Just a second. But all I can say that the enthusiasm with which they are fighting within themselves, if they shown the same kind of enthusiasm in Delhi, and they would have really worked wonders to fulfill the promises.
I think we are debating.
No.
I will not call it a fight.
Today, they presented an edited version of video today. Hope they don't edit the promises that they had made for the people.
Well, let's hope that, and let's hope they would have presented an unedited version of the Aam Aadmi Party before the party went to polls, before Delhi went to polls. That's another query, and that's another question that remains. Hartosh Bal, your closing comment. Do you believe that under Arvind Kejriwal's leadership, beg your pardon, the Aam Aadmi Party volunteer and cadre is now, wondering who to support? They have lost their vision and they are confounded and confused. I'm not talking about those 15, 20 or 40 people who are within the close rings of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, or those 40, 50 odd who are leaning towards Prashant Bhushan, Yogendra. I'm talking about those who actually put in the hard yards on the streets of Delhi and across the country. Those are the people who will now wonder who to follow. And is that justice to them, Hartosh Bal?
Unfortunately, the real truth is they've been cut out of the process. They no longer have a voice. If they had a voice, the kind of edited tape we've seen released today would have never come out. Not only is it a one-sided version of events, it's a selective, self-serving version of events. I mean, simple questions are not being asked. He's talking about Prashant Bhushan. Which income tax commissioner in this country doesn't know what a personal bond is?
Correct.
Any volunteer who was independent would be asking these questions, would be asking why we are putting this tape out. Unfortunately, they've been erased from the process.
True. And that is a hard reality, sir. And Adarsh Shastri, Bhai Baldeep, and I hope the rest of the Aam Aadmi Party leadership realize that what the volunteer wanted was a united front. They know that this party is weaker without Arvind Kejriwal, Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan, and today they stand in the middle of the river, not knowing which bank to move towards. That is what has happened, and that's where you have left them in the lurch.
I would like to conclude.
Yes, Tom, final word, and we're going to wind up.
This line has been mentioned, the lyrics, इंसान को इंसान से हो भाईचारा, यही पैगाम हमारा. Now the final message is, साला मैं तो साहब बन गया. This is not by me, but a leading journalist in a leading newspaper has said this, and it's very appropriate. I thought I should conclude with that line.
Unfortunate, sir, and perhaps the Aam Aadmi Party members today, fellows today would remember it's a party of fellows and not of followers, and I hope that philosophy, that wisdom dawns amidst all those who founded this party for a particular reason, sir. I've got to wind up on that note because we have another reason to celebrate this Sunday, and I need to accord that time. They deserve that justice. We have to celebrate Saina Nehwal and Srikanth Kidambi for their achievements on the badminton court. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Have to wind up on that note. Thank you very much.